All right, start this meeting. Call this meeting to order. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All coming this evening, please take the attendance.
All council members are present, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, approval of the agenda. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, please call the roll.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Is there any member of the public who wish to address the council on an item not listed on tonight's agenda? Forum is closed. Oh, Jake would have like to do a little bit of an announcement in the front part of the meeting here.
Is exploring a potential renovation of the library and activity center facilities. Public engagement sessions will be held this Thursday, February 15th. The engagement sessions will be an opportunity to provide input on ways the facilities could better serve you through use of space. The sessions will be open house style with no formal presentation, so please feel free to stop by as your schedule permits. The activity center will be from 1 to 3 p.m., and the library will be from 4 to 6 p.m. again this Thursday, February 15th.
Approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public input on this item? Council have questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tildenburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Okay, on to presentations and reports. SDSU students report. Tell us what's going on.
All right, well, good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's been a minute. I'm sorry I haven't been able to be with you guys for the last couple meetings. Our General Activity Fee Strategic Planning Committee has meetings on Tuesdays at 5, and those last two meetings both went until about 9 o'clock, so unfortunately I was not able to join you. With that, the biggest project that the Students Association at SDSU has been taking care of recently is our General Activity Fee Strategic Plan. That's a plan that will determine how we spend student general activity fee dollars. It's a part of tuition from now until 2030 to line up with the university's strategic plan for 2030. Just a couple interesting items from there. We're increasing fundings for student organizations and setting aside some increased funds for the Wellness Center in expectations that there will be an expansion there the next couple of years. I know a pool has been talked about a lot. That's not necessarily in the plans, but that's certainly something that we got during our feedback sessions, as well as increasing floor space just for gym equipment. We always have pretty long lines for most of the equipment at any time during the day. So the Wellness Center was another thing we focused on. We are also adding additional GAF funding to fund a new full-time counselor in our counseling department. So that's pretty exciting. And then for mental health, covering the second part of that there, other than the counselor, we also set aside some GAF dollars for hopefully partnering with a new telemental health provider. So that is both a new word I just made up and also a new venture for GAF on this new plan. So we're excited about that. Other than that, just some other business to clean up from GAF. We're still not sure what to do with our transportation fund for that. It's just being set aside for now. And then there's not much else to talk about for GAF. So just real brief recap on state legislative business. Part of my duties as government affairs chair is to liaise with the city and state governments. And for the next 20 days or so, I will still be splitting my time between here and Pier. There's a couple of different bills we're keeping track of. And most importantly, we're still trying to make sure that the legislature allocates money towards the Board of Regents for a tuition freeze at the end of session. So, and then other than those two items, we also have just some in-house business for Senate. Our election process for 2024 started off last week. So we're seeing some candidates declare for some important races there. And the Student Promotion Fund is also still going strong. That's a committee that I chair to spend money from the city. It's a partnership we do. And I was telling the mayor earlier, we're almost through all of that money for the year, so that's pretty exciting. With that, I will stand by for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you, Michael.
All right, thank you.
All right, move on to City Council ex officio reports. Mrs. BMU report. Councilmember Avery or Rasmussen? Andrew?
Yeah. Highlights for the meeting where they discussed further updates for their marketing plan as kind of a way to reach out to the community and describe better to residents of Brookings what BMU has going on. They affirmed their scholarship program for Brookings High School students, so they're keeping it at $1,000 for 3 students, and they pay it directly to the institution. Apparently, it was a recent change where they changed it from paying it directly to the student to the actual school, and they thought that that process was going well, so they're going to stick with it. They updated their mission statement to reflect what the board's opinions on BMU are, so just some kind of wordsmithing on that. And then they discussed and adopted an IT governance policy, and this was because a lot of their insurance and some of those related contracts required their IT governance to be in their policy specifically, so they added that to the policy and talked about how they're keeping up with the new cybersecurity requirements placed out there by a lot of these insurance companies.
Brookings Health System. Councilmember Specker, I understand you have the report this time.
Held on January 29th, and there was a strategic plan update. The hospital had developed this plan last year, and it consists of 5 goals or pillars, with each of them having numerous metrics and activities. A couple of key activities within each of the 5 pillars were reviewed in terms of what the hospital is currently working on in 2024. The people pillar, they're working on employee engagement survey and organizational action plan, as well as a report on fiscal year 23 productivity. Under the quality pillar, the topics discussed included social determinants of health, as well as patient outcomes for total hip and knee arthroplasty. And then the silver or service pillar, they discussed a 2024 system-wide patient experience campaign that will be done. There was a finance pillar that discussed efforts that will be made in 2024 regarding Medicare Advantage and denial processes and the community patient education. The growth pillar consisted of a discussion around the planning for what's going to happen with Yorkshire Medical Building and medical staff development plan, recruitment, and needs. Jason Merkley, the CEO of Brookings Health Systems, discussed various healthcare-related articles, and he also talked about legislative updates related to healthcare, and that the South Dakota Association of Healthcare Organizations, or SADAHO, will be monitoring bills related to healthcare and keep Brookings Health up to date throughout the legislative session. The Chief Financial Officer reviewed how Medicare cost reports are done in a new system for tracking payroll, hours worked, and work-related expenses. And the Chief of Nursing Operations noted that the Wound Center is actually sponsoring a sock drive to benefit Brookings Salvation Army during the month of February. And the Wound Center team is encouraging the community to participate and donate new pairs of socks, as they are the most often requested item in the winter for those that are less fortunate. It was also noted that the OB department is evaluating the benefits of whether or not they'll pursue baby-friendly hospital designation. The administrative committee reported on various software updates, best methods for relaying information about annual salary bonuses to employees, the status of upcoming renovations at the Fit Center, the health system signage at the First Bank and Trust Arena, recruitment and retention of providers, and an update on an operational assessment of dietary, laundry, and housekeeping areas. The Finance Committee presented financials for November and preliminary data for December, and the committee also reviewed the 2024 Team Share Incentive Program, and the board approved the recommendations for that program. It was a busy.
We'll move on. No contracts or change orders this evening. Other business, 8A, discussion and possible action on the 2024 outside agency funding recommendations. Our Deputy City Manager, Jake Meshi, and Heidi Gullickson, our United Way Director, will present this item.
Good evening, Mayor. We budgeted $258,035 for social service outside agency funding in 2024. The city partners with United Way to develop priority and recommendation for the distribution of the social service outside agency funds. Heidi Gullickson from the United Way is present. Staff recommends approval of the recommendations provided.
Hello again, Heidi Gullickson here with the Brookings Area United. Kind of our spreadsheet. It shows the last few years of history of the organization, city's outside organization funding process. And then if we take a look at the 2024 request line and then the recommendation funding. I will say all of these organizations are ones that have been in our community doing the work for quite a while now. They consistently step up when they are needed in our community, and to have these funds available to them will make a difference for each and every one of them. Happy to answer any questions on specifics.
Questions for Heidi? Heidi, I noticed there's, like say, Brookings Backpack Food Pantry feeding Brookings. In 2021, 22, there was no request, and all of a sudden they're starting to do this. Food insecurity becoming more of a major factor in the city.
We have definitely seen the numbers come up when we talk about the Brookings Backpack Project. This year, they started out at a higher number than they've ever. And there's always a little ebb and flow with that number, but this week they were packing almost 500 bags. So that is a program that is open to anyone in Brookings County. They take care of all of the schools in Brookings City along with Head Start. And with that one, there aren't any financial levels that somebody has to meet or be below. But if a family feels like that assistance is going to help them, they can sign up to be a part of that program. We also know that those bags that they put together for the kids to have on the weekends have almost doubled in the last few years, cost-wise. They used to be about $4 a bag, now they're about $9 a bag.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I was wondering if you could expand on any other patterns of the needs that you have seen, kind of providing some context for the public of what this funding does to help meet that need, and just other things that you've seen in the community that you'd like to point out.
Brookings is a very nice community, and many of us enjoy getting to live here. That does not mean that everybody is at the same level for their income, for their living situation, for their food, all of those kind of things. Transportation plays into it. And so when we look at some of these needs that are out there, they're typically very entwined with something else. And so knowing if we can help in one area, it can lessen kind of a burden in another area for a family. And as I say that, really to meet every single need in our community would be an astounding number that we just will never be able to do. But our families are resilient, our nonprofits are resilient, and work together to try to figure out how we can help folks get back on track or fill that one need that has come up and just move on.
Councilmember Tilton Burn.
First of all, I want to thank you and the team that you work with for the work that you do on this every year. It's really helpful to have these recommendations, and so I appreciate that. My question is, sometimes in the world of nonprofits, like many of these organizations, when you submit a grant request, you're submitting a request for a specific project. And then sometimes if you get only a partial amount of that funding, it can put you in a little bit of a bind because you've then committed to do that project, but you don't have the adequate funding to do so. Obviously, we're noticing that we're not able to provide full funding for all of these projects. And so I'm wondering if there's any specific ones that in the projects they submitted or the funds that they're requesting, if any of them may benefit more than maybe some of the others to actually meet their full number, whether the community might be able to help step up, or if there's other funding sources they might be able to turn to. But I just want to make sure we're not putting anyone into a hard spot by granting them just partial dollars.
Sure, that's a great question. And when I look at these requests and the applications that our board read through and that we read through and did the scoring and everything, most of these are to continue to do what they're doing. Do they all have wish lists of different programs that they would start to be able to either fill a need or increase a program? Yes. But these, I feel like, are the continued programming that they're doing. And so any and every dollar that comes to them, they'll be able to use.
Councilmember Duren.
Like to read. I just want to disclose that my employer is the Boys and Girls Club of the Northern Plains, which is the admin umbrella organization for various locations, including the Boys and Girls Club of Brookings, which is a recommended organization for funding. If passed, this funding will go directly to the Boys and Girls Club of Brookings, and while I am on a team that includes the grant manager and director in development, I do not directly have a role in this grant application or receive any financial benefit. Thank you.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, any other comments, questions from council? Please call the roll.
Swecker,
Aye.
Tilton Burn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we go on to ordinances and first readings. Item 9A, introduction and first reading on ordinance 24-003, an ordinance authorizing amendment number 11 to the 2023 budget. Ashley Wrench, our financial director.
Mayor, members of the council, this is the first reading of ordinance 24-003, amendment number 11 to the 2023 budget. This amendment has 4 parts. Part 1, construction project, and adds $61,562.50 to the revenue and expenditure budgets to account for additional project expenditures reimbursed by 3M. This part also includes a transfer from the storm drainage fund to the CIP fund for storm drainage related expenditures that were part of the project in the amount of $411,562.50. Part 2 is related to the University Boulevard project and recognizes a reimbursement of $64,555.33 from SDSU and related project expenditures for the same amount. Part 3 increased department by a total of $97,608 for additional revenues received for sales of assets and other miscellaneous revenue, and increases the budget authority by the same amount in the overtime pay and building maintenance accounts. Finally, Part 4 utilizes city manager's contingency to offset unexpected increase in compensation expenses for the forestry department. The second reading is on February 27th, and with that, I'll stand by for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Is there any public comment on this item? Council members have questions, comments? As Ashley said, we'll see this again on the 27th of February. Move on to item 10, public hearings and second readings. Item 10A, introduction and first reading of ordinance 24-002, an ordinance authorizing budget amendment number 10 to the 2023 budget. Ashley Wrench will also present this item.
The second reading of ordinance 24-002, amendment 10 to the 2023 budget. Project was completed at the end of December, and this replacement was a result of the damage sustained in the May 2022 derecho. This ordinance increases our grants revenue budget by $334,561.50 for FEMA funds received, and our reimbursed expense budget by $1,656,317.44 for insurance funds received as a result of the damage. We already had about $620,000 budgeted in our emergency event expense account for a portion of these project costs, so this action will also approve an addition of $1.25 million to the budget to cover the remainder of those costs. No changes have been made since the first reading, and staff recommends approval as presented. Thanks.
Thanks.
So moved.
Second.
Move second. Is there any public comment on this item? Council have any questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Tilden Burn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 10B, public hearing and action on ordinance 24-001, an ordinance to change the zoning within the city of Brookings, 1.63 acres in section 1 from an agricultural A district to a residence R3 apartment and a residence R3 apartment district to a business to a office district. Ryan Miller, our city planner, will present this item.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. This is the second reading and public hearing for a rezone request on 20th Street South, 1800 and 1818 20th Street South, as shown on the map here. These are currently residentially occupied properties. One is zoned ag and one is zoned R3, but they do both currently have single-family dwellings located on the property. A future land use map amendment was approved back in January for this area, the same area, to amend the future land use map from medium density residential to urban medium intensity, which would support the proposed rezone request to business B2A office district. The Planning Commission saw this item in January and did recommend approval with a 6-to-1 vote. There were some concerns noted at the public hearing with the Planning Commission. Concerns were noted from neighboring property owners and some Planning Commission members about some of the uses that are allowed in the B2A district in such close proximity to residentially zoned properties to the, well, every direction but the east of this property. Specifically, there was concerns about coffee houses and cannabis dispensaries, which are allowed through our cannabis ordinance passed a couple of years ago. The Planning Commission has since discussed those concerns a little bit further at our February Planning Commission meeting and may have some recommendations for changes to the B2A ordinance. But in the meantime, there's a Planning Commission recommendation and staff recommendation for approval. Just two other things to note. The properties here would be subject to our standards, which would require a public hearing for a site plan review at the Planning Commission and City Council. And being that it is surrounded by residential properties, there is some added protection to the properties adjacent with our buffer yard ordinance and setbacks for uses there. And I would stand for any questions you have.
Thank you, Ryan.
So moved.
Second? All right. Been moved and seconded. Open this to a public hearing on this item. Is there any public comment? And you might want to hit the button, make sure the green light's on that mic.
My name is Rich Ukert. I live at 2017 Grand Arbor Avenue. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I have submitted a couple letters in regards to this rezoning, and I hope you were able to review those, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm not necessarily, I've been visiting with the developer several times over this property, and I'm not necessarily opposed to what he intends to do with the property, but I am opposed to some of the uses that are allowed in B2A, and CD Properties has been a good neighbor. We've worked multiple times back and forth, purchased the property we live at from them. But the intent of B2A, as I looked in the ordinances, provide for a mixture of office and other compatible and complementary uses. District is intended to be located close proximity to commercial uses or used as a transitional zone between commercial and residential uses. Emphasis shall be placed on landscaping and site arrangements. And like Ryan said, there are a couple concerns that are allowed in B2A. I know CD Properties does not intend to develop it with those uses, but what if, you know, CD Properties sells the property or has a different intent later? One is the coffee houses. While coffee houses are allowed, 1,000 square foot is the maximum size. The scooters on 22nd Avenue would fall into this allowed use, allowing maybe a drive-through right next to residential properties. I believe drive-throughs of that nature are open early in the morning, late into the evening, have significant traffic, noise, and lighting impacts. So I just ask that the city review B2A again, and if those uses really are the intent of B2A to transition from a commercial zone to a residential zone. The other one is the cannabis stores. I do not believe that's a smooth transition from a commercial district to a residential area, but that is allowed in B2A as well. So in addition to maybe traffic, noise, lighting impacts, those type of things, I think smell could be an issue this close to residential properties. So as Ryan said, P&Z members have expressed concerns over this use as well, and I just ask that the city maybe look at these uses again in B2A. Again, I'm not opposed to what James Drew is intending for the property. He's told me he intends to develop something like a Bisson Dental or something like that, which I think would fit in the neighborhood and meet the intent of the B2A. But a couple of these uses just don't seem to make any sense anymore, and maybe we could look at them again. So that's all I'm here to state tonight. I thank you for your time.
Do you want to bring up any questions? Certainly.
I'm James Drew with CD Properties. Thank you for considering this rezone. As Rich mentioned, our intent is to do professional office. That is the B2A zoning district. There is no other district that aligns more for professional office. My intent would not, it's unfortunate that the cannabis and the coffee shops are in the B2A because that's not my intent or not the request that I'm approaching council with. But with that said, there's B2 headed out towards the interstate, so this piece really wouldn't be a very desirable piece for a coffee shop. There's much better pieces of B2 as you head towards the interchange. I truly think this is, the best piece for a professional office. I just don't see a coffee shop or a dispensary chasing after this piece of ground. So that's all I had.
Thank you, James. Any questions? Oh, Ryan. Okay, thanks. Ryan? Councilmember Specker?
Can you please discuss a B2 and a B2A and why there was a B2A developed?
Yeah, sure. The B2 district, it's our business, general business district, B2, and it allows for a much broader array of uses. Much of 6th Street is B2. It's more retail oriented and allows for, like I said, a broad array of uses. The B2A is kind of a subset of that district that eliminates really anything besides office and service stores as permitted uses. Then there are some special permitted and conditional permitted uses in the B2A, but it really it kind of eliminates a lot of the more dense, heavy traffic retail uses and focuses on the office and services.
So you'd say that the B2A was developed to be next to residential areas because you don't have the late night sales or the traffic. So I listened to the Planning Commission, and I know that they recommended that the staff come up with a revised 2BA to possibly exclude the drive-throughs and any, to make it more in line with what it was designed to do originally. I would just like to reiterate that I personally would like to see that come to council.
Yes, thank you. And the Planning Commission did discuss last week at their February Planning Commission meeting a few options, either adding in some additional standards for approval for the permitted special uses, like eliminating drive-throughs or other changes to that, or moving certain uses to a conditional use, which would require a public hearing and additional standards for approval for conditional uses. So they're looking at a couple of options to amend the B2A in regards to some of the uses.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about it for this particular property, but more as that part of town is being developed and you're getting a lot of B2A zoning down there. What does that actually mean, like in the future, as well as this property, but the future as in addition? So, thank you.
Councilmember Tilton Burn.
That I would also look forward to seeing whatever changes are proposed as it relates to drive-throughs in the B2A district. When it comes to cannabis dispensaries, I know that our ordinance around that also imposes some setbacks that are required, certain distances away from certain types of structures and buildings. Knowing those setbacks, would this piece allow for cannabis?
Yes, currently this property would allow for a dispensary. Only a dispensary would be allowed per ordinance, and it would be allowed if it's more than 300 feet from a daycare center, religious institution, or detention center, or over 1,000 feet from a private or public school. And at the moment, this property would be outside of those buffer setbacks, and it would be allowed a cannabis dispensary.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a around the sequencing of what Councilor Specker noted around potential adjustments to the definition of a B2A, potentially another subset that would live in the B2 district. An approval tonight that comes before any of those adjustments are made to the B2A, would this property in the future be impacted by those adjustments, or would it be grandfathered in?
So currently the properties are both zoned residential, and they both have single-family homes on them. If this were to be rezoned to a business B2A, those current single-family homes would become non-conforming, and any future use, they would have to redevelop the property. And if a development were to occur, if a commercial development were to occur with the current zoning standards in place, and then a change were made, that would be, grandfathered in as a non-conforming use. So if the Planning Commission were to make some recommendations in the next month or so and brought those recommendations to the City Council and made the changes before these properties are redeveloped into commercial, then that development would have to meet the new regulations.
My second question is sort of along the same line of the sequence of events that would happen in the next couple of weeks or month. Can you remind folks what the process looks like for the overlay district? I think it's still relatively new. And so can you just talk through what the steps of getting approval for lots that exist in our overlay district looks like?
Sure. So for a redevelopment to occur here, a developer would have to submit a site plan of what their proposed development would be. That site plan would have to go to the Planning Commission, where there would be a public hearing, notice to the public before the public hearing. The Planning Commission would review and make any recommendations on approval or denial of that site plan, and they would make that recommendation to the City Council, where then a second public hearing would be held with additional notice to the public. So it'd be about a 2-month process of public meetings after the developer has had a chance to prepare a site plan for review.
Councilmember.
A couple different letters from people that submitted letters and everything. It didn't seem like there was a terrible feeling against the project. It was just a couple of the uses that weren't liked, and people also expressed that they had some confidence in the developer, that he was going to do the right things there. So it feels like it's something is not terribly out of line with what the neighborhood is willing to work with. So, and it does seem like these kind of situations are going to happen more and more, and future as we develop new areas and get in close proximity to residential areas. So it's something that if we can do anything to lessen that anxiety about a drive-through or something, maybe that's the way to go. But there's no way to do that now, is there? There's not. We can't say we're going to pass this as B2A, but we're going to take out these certain uses. That's not allowable, is it?
No, unfortunately, no. Specific uses couldn't be removed with a specific rezoning request for a property. This request would be just to switch the zoning district and all that is allowed within that zoning district. Removing any permitted or special permit or conditional uses would have to go through a separate ordinance process to revise the B2A ordinance for all B2A properties. It can't be tied to a specific property's request to rezone. That would be conditional zoning, which wouldn't be allowed.
It seems like there's a lot of agreement in the room here how we want it to be. It's just how we get there and what the steps are.
Yep, so that would be a separate process. Like I mentioned, the Planning Commission going through additional ordinance revision on those.
Councilmember Tilton Burn.
This is going back to the comment that Councilmember Wendell made and the discussion about the timeline. Do you anticipate that the recommendations for the changes for the B2A district would come before council prior to development of this plat, therefore kind of bringing it up to what we would expect the actual use to be?
Yes, I would anticipate that. Currently, staff would hope to have some recommendations or options presented to Planning Commission in March. And then if that were the case, potentially as soon as April, they could have their recommendations here at a second hearing and public action on the ordinance in April, potentially. And I think that would precede any redevelopment.
And we don't anticipate development on this plot prior to April, or is that possible?
And that would be the earliest kind of timeline. If we get those changes approved by Planning Commission in March, it could extend out if there's any further conversations on those changes.
All right. Councilmember Duran, Rasmussen. Please call the roll.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tilden Burn.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 10C, public hearing and action on Resolution 24-016, a resolution determining the necessity of repairing or installing sidewalks in the city of Brookings at the expense of abutting property owners. 2023 concrete maintenance project. Charlie Richter, our city engineer, will present this item.
Good evening, council. I'm here tonight requesting approval of Resolution 24-16 for determining the necessity at the expense of abutting property owners under Project 2023-01 SWR. This project is an annual project the city performs to maintain sidewalks throughout the city. Every year, city inspects 1/5 of the sidewalks in the city and notifies residents of defects in their sidewalks. The city provides them a chance to perform the repair themselves or have the city repair them and assess it to their taxes. If repaired by the city under the resolution of necessity, residents can either pay the construction costs in its entirety or pay the city over the course of 5 years at a specific interest rate. For this project, in accordance with the city's assessment policy, the interest rate will be 7.98%. If residents complete the work before construction begins, residents will not be charged for this charge and assessment. Residents have been notified of this hearing by certified mail and the estimated cost of repairs based on last year's. Staff will proceed with bidding the project for these repairs. Staff will be back to City Council with a recommendation for contract award in several weeks, when we'll also discuss a possible cost share for sidewalk damage by boulevard trees. Staff recommends approval of this resolution, and I stand for any questions.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second.
Moved second. Is there a public comment on this item? Council have any questions, comments? Councilmember Specker.
Charlie, I sanding down of those lips,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where the trip hazard is, or sanding isn't the right word, but you can,
You can grind down the
Right.
joints there to remove that trip hazard.
on some of these, is that possible for the homeowner to do?
It is. It is. They can perform those repairs instead of replacing the panel. We do a more extensive repair for a longer lasting product.
Okay, so that's an option. And also last year, for people who had a hard time paying for this, ICAP, they could go to ICAP to get assistance with the repair bill. Is that going to be the same this year?
That is correct. So I recommend if there's someone who has looking for financial assistance, that they come to the engineering department. We can direct them to the right person.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So I was kind of looking at the list, Charlie. There's $100 is about the average, but that must be just because of the lot size and the whole frontage. Some of these are getting up to 4,000. Is that because it's a corner lot?
Sometimes, yeah. Concrete panels that need to be replaced.
Right.
So, yeah, those people who live on corner lots, me included, have, some sidewalk that they have to cover in case there's damage. So, yeah, so it can be pretty costly. We cover, this is a price kind of geared towards those that have single panels that need to be replaced. So I recommend that if someone does find themselves with several panels that they have to replace, to look at a contractor to do the work and maybe get a more cost-effective solution.
Councilman Duran?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. About a fifth of the sidewalks are reviewed every year. Can you explain the process of how you find those houses that are reviewed? How do you come up with that fifth of a list?
So we've split the city into 5 parts, fairly equal in size, and we actually have an intern that walks every mile of sidewalk in that area every year. They document it. They identify any trip hazards with an X, and then we compile that in a database. We bring it back to the office, and then send out an inspection report along with photos of the issue to each resident that have issues.
Most everything is kind of on the north side of the tracks, but you've also got like 4 or 5 of them on the lower area. Did we miss those, or?
No, these are people that have said in the past that they plan to do that themselves, but weren't able to complete the repairs themselves in a timely manner. So we've added them to the list so that the repairs get it done in a timely manner.
Thank you, Charlie. Any other questions, comments from council? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
All right. Item 10D, public hearing and action on resolution 24-017, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an off-sale wine operating agreement with MG Oil, DBA Corner Pantry, number 24. Lonnie Foster, our city clerk, will introduce this item.
Mayor and council members, action is requested on a new on-off sale wine license for Corner Pantry. They are located at 600 6th Street. This establishment currently has 2 on-off malt licenses, each with a video lottery authorization. Approval will allow the city manager to enter into an operating agreement, which are entered into for 10 years with a 5-year midterm renewal. Staff recommends approval.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Is there any public comments on this item? The manager want to come up and or not? All right, you're good. All right. Any public items, or public hearing closed. Is there any comments from city council? Questions? Bonnie, just so that we can reiterate this is not for consumption of wine on site. It's just for carryout, correct?
This license will be an on-off sale license. If they want to use it in the main video lottery room as a on sale, they are allowed to do so.
Okay.
But it also has the off sale portion so they can sell wine product out the door.
All right. All right. Any other questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Okay, item 10E, public hearing and action on a request to transfer an existing on-off sale malt license for El Tapatio Company, Guadalupe Rodriguez, owner, to a new location at 1816 6th Street. Bonnie Foster will present this item.
Mayor and council members, El Tapatio is moving their location. They are currently located on the north side of 6th Street next to Guadalajara's. They are moving across the street to the south side of 6th Street in the former Textbooks for Less location next to AAA and Papa Murphy's. So this is a transfer of their license. They currently only have the on-off malt license. Staff recommends approval.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Move second. Open public hearing on this item. Is there any public comment? Close public hearing. Comment from council. Questions? Comments? Please call the roll.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public hearing and action on a special event alcoholic beverage application from Mosaic Wine Bar. Bonnie Foster will present this item.
Mayor and council members, action is requested on a special alcoholic beverage license from Mosaic Wine Bar for a Galentine's event to be held at the Socialite on Thursday, February 15th. Caitlin is here. If you have any questions for her, staff recommends approval.
Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Open public hearing. You want to do a little presentation here or selling point?
Hello. Excited to have another opportunity to partner with the Socialite Boutique in downtown Brookings to provide an opportunity for a fun interactive shopping event for women and community members in Brookings this week, if possible. So, yes.
Okay. And the 15th, but what's the timelines on it?
4 to 6 p.m. is when the event is.
While you're up here, council have any questions, comments? Thank you. Please call the roll.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tiltonburn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye. Okay, that's pretty much the business for tonight. Introduction topics for future discussion. Anybody on council have anything that they'd like to? Councilmember Duran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just council with downtown Brookings during their coffee hour this Thursday, the 15th, from 9 to 10:30 a.m. at downtown Cottonwood Coffee, and all are invited.
On to next week. We've got informational study meeting on the 20th. Some of the items that'll be on there is the on-sale liquor and on-sale full-service restaurant liquor fees, 6 Mile Creek feasibility study. Public Works will be possibly. Is that going to happen, John? Oh, it's not. Okay. Maybe move to March. All right. And then regular meeting, we have students report 2023 full year report. We'll be awarding chip seal project bid. Budget 11 that we just read first reading tonight will be there. And then progress report by the assistant of the city manager. And that being said, any other questions, comments from council? I will say that there is a Marade celebration on campus this coming Monday. I think it starts at 11 o'clock. It'll be at the Student Union. We had to delay it because of bad weather. It was going to be held on Martin Luther King Day, but it's been moved to President's Day since the union or campus is closed for the President's Day celebration. And so they moved it to there. So if anybody's interested in going to that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Move second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.